We are going to continue our Teams tips. So this is part 3. We are going to cover some things that kind of relate to files. So the first thing on our list is to show how to attach a file to a conversation. So if you can pick a file that you like, we can give that a try. So maybe in this case, go and pick a file that you have on your system already, and then we can use that as an illustration for attaching that file to a conversation.
On the server, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So these files,
Okay.
these files are already in Teams.
Okay, got it.
Okay, very good. What sometimes confuses me is that whenever you do a file attachment, it tends to want to go to OneDrive first. And then sometimes have to kind of click it a couple times and then say, no, I don't want it to come from OneDrive. I want it to come from my local system. So it's a little bit picky that way. So in any case, I think this is a good illustration. So you have a little bit of text in your post, which I think is important. And then you have the file attached. And I guess for illustration purposes, I guess go ahead and you can go ahead and send it.
Also, just to add, which we've already covered this, if you start typing and you realize that you didn't add a header, you can go into the format and it'll keep everything, and then you can still add your header.
Go ahead. Yes. Also, we may have covered this before, is when you're in that sort of, I guess, the edit mode, you can basically type to your heart's content and not worry about hitting return and sending the message prematurely. So I think that's quite helpful. Okay, good. So I think this is a good illustration of how to get a file into a conversation. One of the things that we can show next is to take a look at how to replace a file. Or maybe before you do that, let's go and show the files as they appear in the Files tab. So the one that you just attached should be the most recent, and you could do a sort by modified date, and the JPEG that you just uploaded that does appear as to be uploaded about a minute ago. So fortunately or unfortunately, all the files that we attach to a conversation or a post are going to end up in here. So it's a little bit of a pain in some regards, because after a while this folder will be pretty busy, lots of files. One of the things that I've tested, and I think it works properly, is if you were to go and create a folder, and maybe we can do it just as an illustration for this particular file. So go ahead and create a new folder that you can call practice. So there's a new button, and then you can just call it a practice folder if you like. And then what you can do is that JPEG that you just uploaded, you could do a right click and a move, I think. And then go ahead and try and move it into that folder that you just created. All right, good. So the file is still there, but the file is in a subfolder. So go ahead and click on the practice folder. Good. What I sometimes wonder is what the impact is on the conversation. So if you would, go and navigate to the conversation, and let's see if it still links to the file properly. I think you might have to just click on the image. Okay, go and try and open it. Good. So I think that even if we've moved it to a subfolder, maybe it doesn't work. That potentially that the file is still known. So let's try one more thing. So while you're in here, go ahead and try a reply to this, and then go ahead and put in a bit of text that indicates that this is maybe a replacement of the original file. And then go ahead and attach the exact same file in your reply. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so Since we moved the file, basically it exists in both locations now. So it exists in the main folder for files, and then now it also exists in the practice folder. Okay, so a favor, do it one more time. So this is, apologize, it's a little confusing, but go ahead and do it one more time. I guess go ahead and send it, and then do it one more time. Okay, so in situations where you have a file that is already in that main folder, and then you do something to attach to another conversation, the exact same file, it gives you a warning that says, yeah, you've already got it. Do you want to replace it? For our purposes, let's go ahead and click Replace. Okay, so now what happened just now is that you have a reply with the exact same file, and you were given the option of replacing that file. Okay, so now if you go to the Files tab, you'll be able to see the file that we just uploaded. Okay, so now it exists. It exists in more than one place, so apologize, it's confusing. So it exists in the practice folder, plus it also exists in the main folder for files. What I'd like you to try is I'd like you to try to click on the left-hand side of that JPEG and select it, and then open in SharePoint. Okay, so one of the things that we struggle with, I think, is to make sure that we have the right version of the file. And SharePoint sort of does that automatically for us, so we don't have to worry too much about versions of files. So what I'd like you to do is see if you can find the file, the JPEG that we just uploaded, and you can do the same, sort on the date modified, and from newer to older. Okay, good. So the file exists here. What I'd like you to also do is to see if you can click to the left of the file, and then let's see if you can see the versions. So the version control is automatic. You don't actually know what's happening, but it's happening behind the scenes. If you click on the ... at the very top menu, you should be able to see version history. Okay, so now, in our case, it was a little bit contrived, so this example is not ideal, but basically it keeps track of the original upload, and then a little while later, you replace the file, and it keeps track of that too. So one of the good things about this is that you don't have to worry about version control, a 1A, 1B, 1C version, or an 03/31 2020 version. If you're looking at dates, you can keep the file name the same, and then have the system keep track of the versions for you. Does that make some sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. All right. So I think, as a matter of course, we should get in the habit of trying to keep file names the same. So, for example, if we have an agreement of some sort that we're trying to author, then there's an opportunity to keep the file name the same, so that we can have the system keep track of the versions for us. Okay, very good. And I think we have maybe one last thing to talk about in files. So the idea was how would you find a file? And basically, is there a way for us to search files in Teams? So at the moment, the best I can suggest is to always have a conversation or a post associated with the file. So, for example, if you click on the Files folder for right now, and then basically what you can do here, if you like, is you can drag and drop a file into here. You can also hit the upload button and then upload a file. So if you want to try that, you can. Go ahead and click the upload button, and then go ahead and use that same JPEG that you uploaded earlier. So in this situation, you can essentially replace a file or upload a file directly to the Files tab, and then go ahead and click Replace. And then when you do that, you're going to actually have a third version now of the file. And the system will keep the version history for us. The trouble is that if you don't have a conversation and you just upload the file straight here, it's pretty tough to find. So my suggestion is that to always have a conversation associated with the file. So that way, when you do a search, the search will show the conversation, and then the conversation will lead you to the file. Okay, pretty good. And then I guess just for illustration, you can put in your search window, put in the word practice. And then we'll go find your post. And then from your post, we can find the file. Okay, did we cover everything for files?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, so that'll do it for today's Teams tips. And we'll see you next time.